The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 3, Section 2, Bhakti Yoga, or the Yoga of Love and Devotion. Chapter 1, Bhakti Yoga, Prayer. He is the soul of the universe. He is immortal. His is the rulership. He is the all-knowing, the all-pervading, the protector of the universe, the eternal ruler. None else is there, efficient to govern the world eternal. He who, at the beginning of creation, projected Brahman, and who delivered the Vedas unto him. Seeking liberation, I go for refuge unto the effulgence one, whose light turns the understanding towards the Atman. Shweta Shwetara Upanishad. Shweta Shwetara Upanishad. Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Shlok 17 to 18. Definition of Bhakti. Bhakti Yoga is a real, genuine search after the Lord, a search beginning, continuing, ending in love. Bhakti Yoga is real, genuine search after the Lord, a search beginning and continuing and ending in love. One single moment of madness, of extreme love to God, brings us eternal freedom. Bhakti, says Narada in his explanation of the Bhakti aphorism, is intense love of God. When a man gets it, he loves all, hates none. He becomes satisfied forever. This love cannot be reduced to any earthly benefit because so long as worldly desires last, that kind of love does not come. Bhakti is greater than karma, greater than yoga, because these are intended for the object in view, while bhakti is its own fruition, it its own means and its own end. Bhakti has been the one content theme of our sages. Apart from special writers on bhakti, such as Chandila or Narada, the great commentator on the Vyasa Sutra evidently advocates of knowledge, that is Nyan, have also something very suggestive to say about love. Even when the commentator is anxious to explain many, if not all, of the text so as to make them import a sort of dry knowledge, the sutra. In the chapter on worship, especially, do not lend themselves to be easily manipulated in that fashion. There is not really so much difference between knowledge and love, knowledge, jnana, and love, bhakti, as people sometimes imagine. We shall see as we go on that in the end they converge and meet at the same point. So also it is with Raja Yoga, which when pursued has a means to attain liberation and not as unfortunately it frequently becomes in the hands of charlatans and mystery mongers, as an instrument for hoodwin the unwary, leads us also to the same goal. The one great advantage of bhakti is that it is the easiest and the most natural way to reach the great divine and in view. Its great disadvantage is that in its lower form, it oftentimes generates into hideous fanaticism. The fanatical crew in Hinduism or Mohammedanism or Christianity have always been almost exclusively recruited from these worshippers on the lower planes of bhakti. That singleness of attachment, that is nishtha, that is the singleness of attachment, nishtha, to a loved object without which no genuine love can grow, is very often also the cause of denunciation of everything else. all the weak and undeveloped mind in every religion or country have only one way of loving their own idea, that is by hating every other ideas. Herein is the explanation of why the same man who is so lovingly attached to his own ideas of God, so devoted to his own ideas of religion, becomes a hollowing fanatic as soon as he sees or hears anything of any other idea. This kind of love is somewhat like the canine instinct of the guarding the master's property from intrusion. Only the instinct of the dog is better than the reason of man, for the dog never mistakes its master for any enemy in whatever dress he may come before it. Again, the fanatic loses all power of judgment. Personal consideration are, in his case, of such absorbing interest that to him it is no question at all what a man says, whether it is right or wrong. But the one thing he is always particularly careful to know is who says it. The same man who is kind, good, honest, and loving to people of all of his own opinion will not hesitate to do the vilest deeds when they are directed against a person beyond the pale of his own religious brotherhood. But this danger exists only in the stage of bhakti, which is called the preparatory, that is Gauni. When bhakti has become ripe and has passed into that form which is called the supreme, that is para, no more is there any fear of this hideous manifestation of fanaticism. That soul which is overpowered by his higher forms of bhakti, it too near the God of love become an instrument for the diffusion of hatred. It is not given to all of us to be harmonious in the building up of our character in this life. Yet we know that all character is of the noblest type in which all these three knowledge and love and yoga are harmoniously fused. Three things are necessary for a bird to fly: the two wings and the tail has a rudder for steering. Jnana Yoga is the one wing, Bhakti Yoga is the other wing, and Yoga, that is the Raja Yoga, is a tail that keeps up the balance. For those who cannot pursue all these three forms of worship together in harmony, take up. Therefore, Bhakti alone has their way. It is necessary always to remember that forms and ceremonials, though absolutely necessary for the progressive soul, have no other value than taking us on to that state in which we feel the most intense love to God. There is a little difference in opinion between the teacher of knowledge and those of love, though both admit the power of bhakti. The jnanis hold bhakti to be the instrument of liberation. The bhaktas to look upon it both as instrumental and the thing to be attained. To my mind, this is a distinction without much difference. In fact, bhakti, when used as an instrument, really means a lower form of worship, and the higher form becomes inseparable from the lower form of realization at the later stage. Each seems, each seems to lay a great stress upon his own peculiar method of worship, forgetting that with perfect love, true knowledge is bound to come even unsought, and that from perfect knowledge, true love is inseparable. Bearing this in mind, let us try to understand what the great Vedantic commentator have to say on the subject. In explaining the sutra of Vrittir, in explaining the sutra, Shankara says, thus people say he is devoted to the king, he is devoted to the guru. They say this of him who follows his guru and does so, having the following, has the one end in view. Similarly, they say the loving wife meditates on her loving husband. Here also is a kind of eager and continuous remembrance is meant. This is devotion according to Shankara. Meditation again is a constant remembrance of the thing meditated upon, flowing like an unbroken stream of oil poured out from one vessel to another. When this kind of remembering has been attained in relation to God, all bondages break. Thus, it is spoken of in the spiritual regarding content. Remembering has a means of liberation. This remembering again is of the same form as seeing, because it is of the same meaning as in the passage. When he who is far and near is seen, the bond of the heart are broken, all doubt vanish, and all effects of work disappear. He who is near can be seen, but he who is far, what far can only be remembered. Nevertheless, the scriptures say that we have to see him who is near as well as him who is far, thereby indicating to us that the above kind of remembering is as good as saying. This remembrance, when exalted, assumes the same form as seen. Worship is constant remembering, as may be seen from the essential text of scriptures. Knowing which is the same has repeated worship has been described as constant remembering. Thus, the memory which has attained to the height of what is as good as direct perception is spoken of in the Shruti as a means of liberation. This Atma is not to be reached through various sciences, nor by intellect, nor by much study of the Vedas. Whomsoever the Atman desires, by him is the Atman attained. Unto him the Atman discovers himself. Here, after saying that mere hearing, thinking, and meditating are not the means of attaining this Atman, is said, whom this Atman desires, by him the Atman is attained. The extremely beloved is desired. By whomsoever this Atman is extremely beloved, he becomes the most beloved of the Atman, so that this beloved may attain the Atman. The Lord himself helps. For it has been said by the Lord, those who are constantly attached to me and worship me with love, I give that direction to their will by which they come to me. Therefore, it is said that to whomsoever this remembering, which is of the same form has direct perception, is very dear, because it is dear to the object of such memory perception. He is desired by the Supreme Atman, by him the Supreme Atman is attained. This constant remembrance is denoted by the word bhakti. So says Bhagwan Ramanuj in his commentary on Sutra Atota At- Aha- Athota Brahma. Sutra Athoto Brahma Jidnyasa. Sutra Athoto Brahman Jidnyasa. In commenting on the Sutra of Patanjali, Ishwar Pranidhanam, that is, or by the worship of the Supreme Lord, Bhoja says, Pranidhana is that sort of bhakti in which, without seeking results such as sense enjoyment, etc., all works are dedicated to that teacher of teachers. Bhagwan Vyas also, when commenting on the same, defines pranidhana as the form of bhakti by which the mercy of the Supreme Lord comes to the yogi and blesses him by granting him his desire. According to Shandilya, bhakti is the intense love to God. The best definition is, however, that given by the king Bhaktas Prahlada, that deathless love which the ignorant have for the fleeting object of the senses. As I keep meditating on thy, may not that love slip away from the heart. Love for whom? For the Supreme Lord Ishvara. Love for any other being, however great, cannot be bhakti. For, as Ramanuj says in his Sri Bhashya, quoting an ancient Acharya, that is a great teacher. From Brahma to the clump of grass, all things that live in the world are slave of birth and death caused by karma. Therefore, they cannot be helpful as objects and of meditation because they are all in ignorance and subject of change. In commenting on the word anurakti used by Shandilya, the commentator Swapneshwara says that it means anu after rati, rak, rakti, attachment. That is the attachment which comes after the knowledge of nature and glory of God. Else, a blind attachment to anyone, for example, to wife or children, would be bhakti. We plainly see, therefore, that bhakti is a series or succession of mental efforts at religious realization beginning with ordinary worship and ending in supreme intensity of love for Ishwar.